There's nothing we want to watch on TV tonight, but we're still going to watch something great.
Okay, now, there are a lot of spells for wizards. Wizards are very, very versatile spellcasters. Probably the most versatile spellcasters in the entire game, just period. I'm a wizard player, a little bit biased, but besides from that, there are a lot. So, let's go over some picks for best spells for Blade Slinger. Now, so, just a little thing to note with any wizard subclass, not including Blade Slinger, there's gonna be some like automatically good picks, like Fireball being probably the best damage spell in the entire game. And you know, just utility spells are generally good, and you know, spells that crowd control are entirely good, and spells that especially have concentration, which you're going to, if you go kind of the Blade Ward, as put before. Blade Ward being frankly terrible on any other wizard is actually very good for Blade Slinger. Blade Slingers are still wizards, so your hit die is still a d6, the lowest in the game, so that basically still means even at your high AC with your studded leather, maxed out dex, maxed out intelligence, it's still gonna be, you're still eventually gonna get hit by something. So if you know what you're fighting is probably gonna hit you, just pick Blade Ward. Basically, use that at level 6, use your extra attack to then cast the spell, to then attack first with your rapier or any other weapon of your choice, and then cast Blade Ward, allowing you to get a little bit of damage in, and then also to give yourself that little extra protection. Booming Blade. Now, Booming Blade has kind of the same effect as Green Flame Blade, but except that I believe it doesn't have the bonus damage from your intelligence like Green Flame Blade does. Okay, no, it doesn't. Okay, so basically, Booming Blade is a good alternative, and actually, funny enough, one of the downsides of Green Flame Blade is fire damage is one of the most widely resisted damage types in the entire game. So basically, what this means is you might be doing a lot of burst damage, but at higher levels, fire resistance is rather common. So maybe with one of the go Booming Blade and then just try to make the target move. But honestly, I would go for more reliable damage, even though if it comes with consistent. I'd rather go with consistent damage than damage that wouldn't pop up if the creature doesn't move, for example. So Booming Blade is definitely like, if Green Flame Blade is like S tier, then Booming Blade is A tier, for example. Firebolt is another good one to pick, but if you're within, important thing to note about Firebolt and spells like Chilling Touch is that they're ranged attacks. So if they're within 5 feet of you, it's disadvantage. At least I think it is. Now this is kind of where my DM brain comes in. I've always rolled it as, since it's a spell, it's not a ranged weapon, it doesn't have drop-off disadvantage. But again, it really then comes down to DM's call if a ranged spell has disadvantage close up. In my opinion, it doesn't, but hey. Now, Green Flame Blade. Did an entire thing on Green Flame Blade. S tier. Boom, done. Mind Sliver. Now, you would be capping kind of your damage a bit at D6s, but another D4 on top of that, and also disadvantage on saving throws is not the best damage, but a very, very good utility cantrip. Shocking Grasp. Yeah, I know Shocking Grasp exists, and I mean, it is an alternative to Green Flame Blade, but having that, like, plus to damage from fire bonus can just really get your base damage plus your fire damage plus your dex can just really get that base damage up to really good. But if you know you're in a campaign with a lot of creatures that are going to be resistant to fire damage, Shocking Grasp is a pretty good pick subset like that. Spells. Let's see here. Spells that are good generally will be spells that require concentration and spells that will help buff you, especially for melee damage. Now, here is one where I rub my hands as a player but cry as a DM, is the spell Find Familiar. I personally, as a wizard, love this. As a DM, I personally hate this spell for a couple of reasons. It basically just comes down to you as a player being able to make your creature constantly use the help action on that character. Now, giving yourself advantage all the time is an amazing buff. Also, all of just the bonus things you get from Find Familiar are also great, but giving yourself constant advantage is very, very dirty. And if you were to cast this spell, and casting this spell is like your melee caster, getting advantage from it on attacks, just be aware, whatever monster that sees your Find Familiar is going to want to kick the crap out of it. So be very careful with your placement in it. Probably the number one best utility spell in the entire game, not in the entire game, but for the entire game for Blade Slinger, is the spell Shield. You get a +5 to your AC as a reaction. Okay, so let's just talk about this for a second. So, you've min-maxed. You've done it. Congratulations. You have an AC of 20 when your Blade Song is active. So, basically, what this will allow you is it'll give you an extra survivability against hits. Having a 25 AC at any level is ridiculously high for one round. It is good at level 1. It is good at level 20. Cloud of Daggers, on the other hand, 44 damage. That's decent. That's equivalent to some higher level spells. You'll have more consistent damage. It scales up pretty good. But the thing is D4's slashing damage. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm kind of a little bit biased towards this spell because it's not the most glamorous spell. You basically, the spell, it's area denial, and basically what you can do with it: cast the spell, then next round go up to it, move your Cloud of Daggers over your target. It takes 44 slashing damage. Then the bonus damage from Green Flame Blade and your 2 rapier attacks. So, yeah. Crown of Madness works very, very well on humanoids. That is true. But it relies on the creature that you have concentration on making the same rolls each turn until it ends. So, there is that downside if you're fighting a creature with a high wisdom score. The spell might end with you not even taking any damage if it has high wisdom saves. But besides from that, Crown of Madness is a very, very, very good utility spell. And during combat, I would say, yeah, go for it. Let's see here. So I don't really know, but I just love the idea of higher levels of like just invisibility wizard. You walk up, you just go behind somebody, and you just like poke them, and then I know the spell ends if you attack. I do know that, but I'm just imagining if it doesn't, just the insanity that you could have just being constantly invisible at level 1 with the ability to stay around. Anyways, not entirely off topic. Levitate. Yeah, good movement ability. If you know what you're doing and you have an area that you can move around in within 60 feet, yeah, go for it. It's a pretty good combat utility spell within a very, very niche situations, but besides from that, yeah. Okay, now for one of the best ones is Misty Step. So, even with shield, even with the blade ward, you're still eventually going to get into one of those situations where someone's gonna want to wreck your shit. So basically, being able to teleport 30 feet away instantly is great. This is, again, is one of those just very, very general ones, but still, it's great for Blade Slinger. Mind Spike. Okay, so when Mind Spike appeared in UA, I was a little bit like, alright. Cool, I guess, but now seeing it played with, oh my. Oh my. This spell. Wow. It is probably one of the best spells to come out of Tasha's Cauldrons of everything. It's, it's so good. It does come with that downside of if the creature has a high wisdom and it succeeds, you don't get the benefit, but at least it takes half damage. And the concentration is up for 1 hour, so you wouldn't need to necessarily recast it like a spell if you're more than in 10 rounds. Mind Spike is another good one. Magic Weapon. You get a +1 to all your attack rolls, and at higher levels you can get it up to a +3. Cool. The reason why this is really cool about this is you won't necessarily will be getting magic items unless you absolutely know that you're in a high magic fantasy or your DM is just really goes down to DM. But if you know you're not going to be getting high magic weapons and you need a plus to hit more, pick this. Honestly, concentration, you will most likely succeed your concentration throws. Very, very good. Now, to the spell that we've all been waiting for. Shadow Blade. So, it concentrates for 1 minute. It counts as a finesse weapon. It does 2d8 psychic damage. It has some additional benefits of having advantage in some very specific instances. But basically, what this spells allow you to do is min-max your damage even. You really, really, really get to min-max your damage with this spell. Those other concentration spells really have nothing on this for min-maxing damage. Hey kids, have you ever wanted to waste an action? Well, great. The spell Skyred is for you. Do not recommend. Aha! Now, for one of the best spells is Haste. So, normally, you could cast this on a party member. Yeah, it's great that way. But, if you cast it on yourself, you get advantage on all dex saving throws, which you have a high dex, which is good for you. You then get a bonus to your AC, which is ridiculous if you're using shield, then your your blade song, and then one more extra attack. What this basically allows you to do is it gives you some extra survivability to do dash, disengage, hide, or use an object action just whenever you need to. And it also gives you a little bit of extra utility because you then get that other attack. So basically, let's just say for a second, you use your green flame blade, you do the wombo combo, and you get a bonus attack. You just get to min-max your damage a bit more. That's all that does. Slow. So again, there's going to be quite a bit of these very, very good to main concentration on, but then if they succeed the saving throw, it's basically useless. There is that. So basically, my advice is if you're going to be picking any debuff spells for this, have a party member synergize with you to somehow make sure they have disadvantage on their saving throw, because having a large concentration bonus from your intelligence is very, very good until they succeed the save. So, I'm gonna bunch Summon Face, Summon Lesser Demon, and Summon Shadow Spot, and Summon Alded into one category. And that is, you'll have a buddy that can help you min-max your damage and give you some utility, but if you lose concentration, it will attack you. I mean, at least that's how I've seen it ruled before. I mean, these are the new spells, so it could be ruled... Oh, actually, wait, I thought this is one of the old bullshit summon spells, where the creatures, when you lose concentration, they would just attack you. Oh, neato. Okay, so it requires an ally around you in a combat. It takes no damage, requires no action. Okay, cool. So basically, these summon spells, all of these are very good utility and damage, but it really depends on if your DM is still running that old rule of if you lose concentration, they attack you. Really depends. Vampiric Touch. I'm kind of partial on Vampiric Touch. I mean, you do 6 necrotic damage, and you get hit points back, and I get that. It's actually fairly good as for you to wizard to have a concentration spell that you can basically get back every single round if you are that low on health. But I just feel like this spell is outclassed by some just other spells in the level 3 spell list. Alright, so let's get into some bullshit territory really fast. Greater Invisibility. Alright, so this spell doesn't say it, but basically, if you're invisible and the creature can't see you, you have advantage on all attack rolls. So basically, let's just say, for example, you just get advantage on all your attack rolls, and you're also invisible, and also all creatures have disadvantage against you. Good spell. Very 10 out of 10. Good spell. Pick this spell. Like, if there's anything you take away from this, Greater Invisibility is good on literally any build. Okay, so again, Primordial Killer has the same problem of if you fails the saving throw, then it's basically, if it succeeds saving throw, basically pointless. But if you manage to maintain it for a minute, it's very, very good. But this spell gets some prop points because 4d10 psychic damage is nothing to laugh at. That is absolutely insane. Like, Jesus Christ. And it takes half as much on a failed save. So yeah, there's that. It's consistent, and it'll get you through the day. Primordial Killer. 10 out of 10. Okay, so here's the thing. If Polymorph is kind of one of those weird, like, okay, but you're a wizard that has a sword that can poke people, so this is not very useful in combat. Out of combat, though, for roleplay, pretty good, but in very, very select situations, maybe pick them. The summon spells that are greater, the same thing, but you'll have the bigger opportunity being boned over. Okay, Big B's Hand. Big B's Hand is a great utility. Big B's Hand is a great damage dealer. Big B's Hand is a great grappler. Big B's Hand, 10 out of 10. Especially with the grapple effect also doing damage at 2d6 plus your spellcasting modifier, then every single creature then has advantage against that creature because it's grappled. And you get to maintain concentration over it for the entire round, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't have to make a saving throw. I mean, have to make a saving throw to get... I mean, the creature's grappled. Have to make a saving throw to get out of the grapple. But if it gets out of the grapple, just try to grapple again. So, yeah. Very good spell. Very good spell. Okay, so Dominate Person, in my mind, is a pretty good pick. I wouldn't say it's one of the best picks for Blade Slinger, but I definitely would say it's up there, and I definitely would say still pick it because it just has other utility besides from out of combat. You could basically just say, hey, big boy, I need you to not be attacking me right now. Go over there and do something else, and that'll give you some time to get away, is one example. Okay, so Hold Person, being an A-tier spell. Hold Monster is that, but with monsters, and it's a Hold Person, so it's Hold Person, but for monsters, so A. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you really want to waste a 5th level spell slot, I guess. Okay, now, I know that might be kind of a little bit controversial to say that Far Step isn't good, but it's kind of terrible for the specific fact that you can teleport, like, on each of your turns as a bonus action, and you get the benefit of being able to do that every round as concentration. So there definitely is that, but I feel like there's better 5th level spells that you could be casting. Take this in very, very unique situations. Skill Empowerment. Gives you expertise. Now, normally, I don't see this spell come up often because for good reasons is just, it's a utility. And I don't see often a lot of utility spells get used in my games, but honestly, can I tell you what? My best thing is cast this on yourself, give yourself expertise in acrobatics, and have expertise in acrobatics, and have advantage on acrobatics checks. So, yeah. Okay, so Investiture of Stone is kind of interesting because basically you can cost the spell, get additional benefits that are utility, and not only that, you get to just get rid of that wombo combo of, if you're doing, up until this point, if you're doing Blade Ward attack for your survival with your extra attack feature, at this level, you might as well just take out that cantrip and just replace it with Investiture of Stone. Sunbeam! So, the cool thing is about this, even though 6d8 at this level is not a lot of damage, in my opinion. I mean, it's still a lot, but it's not a lot for, you know, upcasting the fireball to this level. And also, there's a lot of creatures that have con saving throws. The ability to be able to move it, this is basically just a very, very better version of Cloud of Daggers. Yeah, so if you have Cloud of Daggers, switch it out for this. That spell does a lot, and a lot of those things are very good. Those concentrations, having this up makes you very, very good. This will give you insane survivability. Just insane. And then Tensor's Transformation also gives you 50 temporary hit points, get advantage on all attacks and simple vision martial weapons. When the target hits you, it does an extra 2 lightning damage, gain proficiency. Okay, so basically this is kind of redundant. You gain proficiency in strings. So basically, some things won't work, like the extra attack benefit because you already have it, and some things about martial weapons, simple weapons. But being able to give yourself these benefits is really, really good. But the one thing is I don't understand why it costs a level of exhaustion when you're using a action to just buff yourself with this insane. I think the cost of a 6th level spell slot is enough for that personally, but hey, I'm not Wizards. So I said we wouldn't be talking about Fireball, because Fireball is one of those all-around general spells, but Delayed Blast Fireball. It's Fireball, but delayed and concentration. So I guess there's a meme to be made in there somewhere. But I mean, hey, it's an option if you really want to. If you really want to cast a 7th level spell for Delayed Blast Fireball, be my guest, buddy. And so we come to the level 9th spell. The level 9th spell to rift all melee spells out of their place. This spell be good. It's 9th level. Of course it's good. This spell be very good. Yeah. Go for it. It works well, the wombo combo, and you just get to do a lot of damage. If you absolutely are needing to waste 500 gold, and you also want to maintain concentration, go ahead. You gain all vulnerability to all spell damage until it ends. Concentration for 10 minutes. If you're fighting a lich, and you absolutely just need to wreck face with it, this, yes, but I wouldn't say it's not a good or bad pick. It's just alright. Alright, so True Polymorph. Now, this spell is already ridiculous. There's entire videos going around why in the hell this spell is so ridiculous. But basically, you still take damage, still only maintain concentration. If you lose concentration, you go out of the form. But basically, as a Blade Singer, you'll be able to maintain that concentration and stay in your form for the entire hour. So if the DM really wanted to kill you and is like, I'll finally get that Blade Singer once and for all, and you just turn into a young dragon, well, I mean, the DM can't really do shit at that point. Go wreck face, man. Alright, so that is some of the spells that I thought were alright to awesome. And from that point on, those should be some spells that should kind of give you a rough idea of what spells to avoid as Bladesinger and what spells that are pretty good as Bladesinger. All right, so let's go over strategy.